Today we are diving into how modern video games are actually made. It's this incredibly complex journey that takes a single simple idea and turns it into a massive interactive universe. And we're going to walk through every single step.
And that really is the question, isn't it? How do you build an entire universe from just a tiny spark of an idea? It's this amazing mix of art, of technology, and a whole lot of collaboration. It's so much more than just writing code. It's about building worlds from the ground up. So, let's dive in.
So, first things first. Every great creation has to start with a solid plan. In game development, we call this phase pre-production. The best way to think about it is like the architectural phase for a skyscraper. It's where the whole vision for the game gets documented before anyone lays a single digital brick.
This whole initial phase is really just about getting everyone on the same page. You start with that core concept, you document it like crazy in something called a game design document, and then, and this is key, you build really simple, rough prototypes. This whole fail fast, fix early thing is absolutely crucial. It saves so much time and money later on. Okay, so this game design document, the GDD, you have to think of it as the single source of truth for the entire team. It's the project's Bible. Without it, things can just spiral into chaos, wasting months of work. This is the blueprint that makes sure the artists, the programmers, and the designers are all building the exact same universe. And this quote just brilliantly captures the human side of it all. It's not just about cold, hard systems, it's about story. The narrative designer's job is to work hand in hand with the game designers, weaving that story right into the gameplay itself. They're the ones who make sure your choices as a player actually mean something. And that's what makes the world truly feel alive. All right, let's move on to the next phase, production. Now, if pre-production was the blueprint, production is the actual construction site. This is almost always the longest, most intense part of the whole process. This is where the game really, finally starts to come to life. And the key word here is collaboration. You've got programmers coding the game's physics and all its internal logic. At the same time, artists are creating every single character, every environment. Sound designers are adding all the audio that gives the world its texture and feel. And through it all, you have QA, quality assurance, testing everything from the very first line of code, hunting for bugs, and making sure the game is actually, fun. Now, to build any of this, you need a foundation. And in game development, that foundation is called the game engine. This is the underlying software that literally dictates the rules of your world. Its graphics, its physics.
This video is for educational overview only. Viewers are encouraged to study the topic in detail and continue their academic learning alongside this video. Thanks.
Its sound, pretty much everything. It is the law of physics for your digital universe. So, what is the single most important tool for a world builder? You could easily argue it's the engine. This one choice impacts everything. It determines how realistic your world can look, which platforms you can even launch on, and the kinds of skills your team needs to have. It's a huge decision. So, the three big players in the game right now are Unity, Godot, and Unreal Engine. And the main takeaway here is that there's no single best engine. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. Unity is kind of the versatile workhorse. It's fantastic for mobile and cross-platform games. Godot is the lightweight open source champion, especially for 2D stuff. And then you have Unreal, which is the absolute powerhouse for those high-end, super photorealistic graphics. It all just depends on the game you're trying to make. And to simplify it even more, you can think of it like this. Godot is all about speed and being accessible. It's lightweight, its scripting language is easy to pick up, and that makes it amazing for getting ideas up and running fast, especially for 2D games. Unreal Engine, on the other hand, is just raw power. It uses all this bleeding-edge tech to create these unbelievably detailed worlds, but all that power, it definitely comes with a much steeper learning curve. Now there's a new and incredibly powerful tool that's changing how things are done across the whole industry, artificial intelligence. And look, it's not here to replace developers, it's here to act as a co-pilot, a real force multiplier that just makes talented teams faster and way more efficient. Okay, but we gotta separate the hype from the reality here. Right now, in 2026, AI is genuinely great at helping with code, making QA way smarter by automatically sorting bug reports and assisting with things like player support. But what's still mostly hype? Well, the idea that you can just type a prompt and create a full game, or that there's some AI that can magically make things fun. AI is a tool, an incredible tool, but it's not a replacement for a great designer. And using this powerful new tool definitely has its risks. AI can be unpredictable. There are huge legal question marks around the intellectual property of AI-generated art. And then there are the hidden costs. Everything an AI generates still needs to be reviewed, polished, and checked by a human. That goes for code, art, and especially for story, where an AI could accidentally create something that contradicts the game's established lore. That problem even has a name: canon drift.
So why is all this efficiency so important? Why are studios so focused on tools like AI? Well, because the scale of this industry is just immense. To put it in perspective, the US video entertainment industry alone generated over $100 billion in economic output in 2024. When you're operating at that scale, even tiny gains in productivity can have a massive, massive impact.
And finally, after years and years of work, the game is ready to launch. But here's the thing. In the modern world of games as a service, the release date isn't the finish line. Nope, it's just the beginning of the game's life as a living, breathing world.
This is what the modern life cycle looks like. You go through internal testing, then external beta testing with real players, and then comes launch day. But the work doesn't stop. It actually speeds up, with patches coming out to fix bugs that the community finds, and to keep people playing for months, even years. The team is already working on new content expansions, new characters, new levels, whole new story arcs.
So if you take one thing away from this last part, it's this. A game is never really finished. The relationship with the players truly begins on launch day. It's that constant support, the bug fixes, the new content. That's what turns a successful launch into a lasting legacy.
And that brings us to a final, pretty big question. As all these incredible tools, especially AI, become more and more powerful, what does it actually mean to be a game creator? Is it about the craft of laying every single brick by hand? Or is it about having the vision to direct an entire army of powerful AI co-pilots? That's the question that is really shaping the entire future of how we build these amazing worlds.